All right, to discuss more on the situation, we're being joined by Sherry Goodman from Washington, D.C. She is the Secretary General of International Military Council on Climate and Security and a former First Deputy Under Secretary of Defense Environmental Security. She is also the author of Threat Multiplier, Climate, Military Leadership, and the Fight for Global Security. Thank you so much for taking out your time and joining us on the show.
Pleasure.
Let me just begin by asking you, what, according to you, are your biggest concerns about the storm? And what can you tell us more about the kind of damage we're expecting from the storm?
Well, I'm deeply concerned about the people in the path of the storm because this is projected to be the strongest storm in over 100 years. And it's made more and more likely because of the heat wave, the marine heat wave we're experiencing. So we have met our climate future and we're experiencing it right now. So I hope that everyone who has received an evacuation order has heeded it and moved out of harm's way. Because as the mayor said, this is going to be a very deadly storm. Our military bases in the area have already evacuated people. And of course, they're there to provide rescue as needed. But this is going to be a deadly storm. I expect we're already still recovering from the damage of Hurricane Helene just last week. And now there's going to be another storm on top of it, compounding and increasing the risk to people and infrastructure. Water, power will likely be out for some time.
Ms. Goodman, and as you just mentioned, Florida's just made it past Helene. It's barely been a few days since then. And now this Milton, which is considered or being pegged as the worst storm in a century. At this point, what kind of preparations would be in store for this kind of damage, which is now being anticipated?
Well, they have made a lot of preparations. First of all, the evacuation orders, as you played on your show already, the mayor instructing people that they need to leave the area. They've also tried to shore up the area, move things out of harm's way, move boats, move as much as possible to hold it down. But the winds are expected to be so strong, and the storm surge, really, that's the danger of this storm. In Hurricane Helene, the storm surge was on average over 5 feet, and this could be double that in some of the most affected areas. Plus, it's supposed to go across both coasts of Florida, all the way from the Gulf Coast across to the East Coast, with highly damaging winds. So I expect there to be significant damage to infrastructure, and hopefully by the evacuation orders, we can minimize the loss of life. But that is also still a very severe concern.
Right. And now you're also the author of Threat Multiplier, Climate, Military Leadership, and the Fight for Global Security. Right. So according to you, if you could simplify, how has this intensified? What has made Milton the third fastest intensifying Atlantic storm? And how do you address this? How can we solve this going forward in the future? Are we expecting more such storms to come in?
Well, unfortunately, we absolutely are. I mean, climate change is a threat multiplier because it increases the risks we face all around the world, in every part of the world, because of rising temperatures. And most severely now we see in hurricanes because of this marine heat wave. We're boiling the ocean. And at this time of year, in this part of the Western Hemisphere, the oceans are at their warmest now. And so that's why we see this rapid intensification of the storm. And that's why we see it pick up so much energy as it moves towards the coast. So what do we need to do? We need to accelerate through the energy transition. We also need to become more resilient. We're going to have to be able to withstand higher sea levels, stronger storm surge, higher winds. And we're going to have to really rethink how we become resilient in the climate era. And we also need early warning systems. And I'm thankful that they've worked fairly well in this case so that people are able to move out of harm's way. But we need to do even more to improve our predictive capabilities to manage in the climate era.
Ms. Goodman, the kind of visuals we've seen coming in, and we've seen it on social media, they seem extremely concerning. We've also heard of people who are still refusing to leave or to evacuate in spite of orders. So there are a lot of reports coming in, but of course, here's only hoping that it passes off soon, Milton, and there is least amount of destruction that we see in the wake of this as well. Thank you so much. That was Sherry Goodman joining us from Washington, DC, Secretary General of the International Military Council on Climate and Security.
Thank you.
Thank you.